Hey guys, I am going to walk you through how to do this slope from a table art project. So it says that we are to color in each table of values based on whether the slope is positive, negative, zero, or undefined. Okay, so the first thing, you obviously should open this up in Notability, and then you get to choose the color you want to use for each type of slope. So you can pick whatever colors you want to use. So I'm going to choose purple for my positive slopes. I am going to choose, wait for it, yellow, yes, Vikings colors for my negative slope. And then I'm going to just go ahead and pick a couple of my favorite colors for my other colors. You choose whatever colors work for you. So for my zero slopes, I'm going to have blue, and then I'll choose green for my undefined slope. Okay, so once you have chosen 4 different colors, one color for each of the different types of slopes you're going to find in these tables, we have to go through each of these tables, and you've got to figure out what the slope is so you can determine if it has a positive slope, a negative, a slope of 0, or an undefined slope. So I will do 4 of these with you as an example, and I'm going to pick one where we will get one of each of these types of slopes. So I'm going to go ahead and pick a different color to show my work with, and I'm going to go ahead and do this second table here. Okay, so I'm going to first look at, and you can make this bigger, right, so that you're able to write on it. I'm going to go ahead and look at my change in y for this table here. So when I go from 8 to 4, how do I do that? I subtract 4, right? 4 to 0, I would have to subtract 4. So my change in y is negative 4. And I want to look at my change in x. What happens when I go from 1 to 2 and 2 to 3? Well, I'm adding 1, right? So remember that your slope is change in y over change in x, okay? So I'm going to just go ahead and write this somewhere in the table here. So I know my change in y is negative 4, and my change in x is 1, so negative 4 over 1, which simplifies to negative 4. Okay, so I have a negative slope. So I'm going to go up and see what color I chose for my negative slopes. I chose yellow. So I'm going to get my yellow highlighter, and I am just going to shade in that table yellow to show that that one has a negative slope. Okay, be sure to leave your work on there because your teacher is going to want to see how you figured out if your slope was positive, negative, 0, or undefined. Okay, let's take a look at another one. We are going to go, let me get my, all the way over to the far right over here in the table. All right, so again, I'm going to make this bigger so that I have plenty of space to write. So again, I have to find my slope, my change in y over my change in x. So to go from 4 to 8, I'm adding 4, right? To go from 8 to 12, I'm adding 4. So my change in y is 4. Remember, slope is change in y over change in x. My change in x, when we go from 0 to 5, 5 to 10, what are we doing every time? We're adding 5. So change in y over change in x, my slope is positive 4 over positive 5, right? That's a positive number. 4/5 is a positive number. So I'm going to shade that table in whatever color I chose for my positive slope. I chose purple. So I'm going to go shade in that entire table. Notice I'm going to keep my work there because I know my teacher wants to see the thinking that I did to solve this problem. All right, let's do another one. Let's go ahead and do this one right here in the middle with all these negative 1s. That's going to look like something different, I think, now. So let's look again. Let's figure out what our change in y is to go from negative 1 to negative 1. There's no change, so my change is 0. Negative 1 to negative 1, my change is 0. So my change in y is 0. Okay, I got to divide that by my change in x. What is my change in x? To go from 14 to 7, what do? I subtract 10, or sorry, I subtract 7. To go from 7 to 0, I subtract 7. So my change in x is -7 because I'm subtracting 7, right? So 0 divided by any number is going to be 0. Okay, so this has a slope of 0. So I'll find the color I chose for my slope of 0. I chose blue. Go find that color. And then I will just shade that table in with my blue highlighter. Okay, again, I want to leave my work because I want to have my thinking shown. Okay, let's do one more. Let's do the one right below that blue one. Okay, again, I'm going to make it big so I can have some space to write. Change in y, here we go. To go from 6 to 4, 4 to 2, what do we do every time? Subtracting 2. So our change in y is -2. Okay, what about my x values? What happens when I go from 3 to 3? 3 to 3. Nothing's changing, right? So I have 0 change for my change in x. So my change in x is 0. All right, so now I have -2 divided by 0. Well, what does that simplify to? I cannot divide something by 0, right? The little trick, the little rule is if it's under the line, it's undefined. If 0 is under the line, it's undefined. So this one is going to be undefined. Instead of writing that word, I'm just going to put a U for undefined because I don't have enough space. And then for my undefined slopes, I chose green. So I'm going to choose my green highlighter. And I'm going to highlight that table. Okay, so you're going to work your way through all these tables. You're going to decide, you're going to show your work in the table there, and you're going to highlight all the different types of slopes you're finding, and at the end you will have a nice art picture. All right, have fun.